Hi everybody, and welcome to our very important session today about the safety of you working from your office in our new normal, and also from working from home, because that is going to be a lot of our new normal. There is a great collaboration and partnership between Auslaser Business Solution and Humanscale, and for those of you who don't know about Humanscale, they're a world leader, and I will actually be handing over to my very dear friend and colleague, Mark Nolan, and today our presentation is about your safety at home and moving back into your office. So I'm going to invite Mark now to share our presentation with you today.
Thanks, Beata. That's a great introduction. I'll give you, it's a fabulous opportunity for us to present this, and I really appreciate the time that it takes to listen to something like this and to engage with it. What we want to take you through today is a little bit about where we're at, what's happened in the last 6 or 7 months, and working from home. How do we work from home? Returning back to the office, what does that look like? And to give you a little bit of background on Humanscale, we're an ergonomics company, and we've been around since the 1980s, and we have developed a range of products, a range of technologies, a range of ergonomic equipment, computer programs. We do a lot of different things, and we work in many sectors around the world, and we predominantly work with large organisations to really bring comfort into the workplace, to help people improve their productivity, to reduce injury, and to make people feel happier. And we back this up with science. We don't sit down. I'm an industrial designer by trade, and I love designing things, and I love the aesthetics and that type of stuff. But we don't sit down and go, hey, let's create something that looks cool. We look at the science, and we engage with engineers. We engage with professors, with universities. And so we're right at the cutting edge, and everything we've developed, no one's really kind of caught up to us in those areas. So we're quite a dynamic and quite a large company. Today's presentation is going to try and get across a lot of this. It'll be a little bit to absorb. We can go a lot deeper into the future, but before I go on for too long, I think I'll just start. And along the way, if some of it is not exactly relevant, we will move through. But I'm going to start just by basically pointing out that a lot of this is about safety, a lot of it's about comfort, and a lot of it's about productivity. So we as a partnership with Auslaser and Humanscale, we say that your safety is very important to us, and we want to help return you safely to your office and ensure that you work from home ergonomically, because you matter. I'll go through to the next slides. So basically, a lot of this information here too has been distilled from a range of sources. So this isn't just us coming up with this. This has actually been pulled from a lot of different places. So the recommendations is to make the work environment the safest place employees could be, safer than being in a shop, on public transport, or perhaps even being at home. So the big part of this is about information and to educate and to screen employees in different ways. So basically to look at the policies. There are people on a scale here that are looking at from start, terrified and petrified of becoming ill, and not wanting to really go back to work. And then there's people on the other extreme that are bursting and itching to get into the workplace. And then there's everyone in between. So a big thing is about a policy and communicating that to your staff that you're on top of this. So one of the things is to manage the space, and a lot of that is about pedestrian vehicular movement, so that we go down certain aisles, that we stay in different places. And one of the things in the last 4 or 5 months with the work we've been doing is a quick solution has been to alternate every other workstation, which has put people to about 50%. And the other part is the reduction in airborne transmission of viral particles. And we can get into that into some detail, but we look at a range of screens to cover for that. We're also looking at a lot of visual cues that might come into the office now so that people feel comfortable. But first and foremost is communicating to your staff that you're really looking at their safety, that you've put in a lot of effort and done some research, and to talk with them, because some people are going to feel very comfortable sitting next to a co-worker, other people may not, and it's working through that on a psychological level as well. So separation panels, this is something we've developed in the last 2 months, And this graphic here will show you that in a normal open plan environment, which has been pushed for the last 15, 20 years, you've got a situation where someone can be unwell, we'll say the chap in the top left there, and those airborne particles are moving through the office. What we've developed is a range of different screens and particles where we can separate people from each other, not separate them in a sense that you don't see anyone ever again, but separate their actual, like a bioatmosphere. And the panels that we use are completely integrated with the environment and also with manufacturing. So we use PETG, which is essentially plastic bottles that are being discarded all over the planet. We're collecting those and we're turning them into these panels. And these particular panels have a texture on them that makes it difficult for microbes to proliferate. And which is really important because you're going to hear a lot about antimicrobials and antibacterials, and we don't really want to go quite there. So you hear a bit about the CDC. None of us really knew, there's a lot of Aussies that probably, what's the CDC? We've heard all about it now through the mainstream media and the news. And so they've got a number of different initiatives, and they're talking about different ways to separate people at work or to protect people at work. And we're talking about engineering solutions and then administrative controls. And so, yeah, transparent shields or other physical barriers have seemed to be the way forward. This is an example here that, some of the data which comes out from Gensler is that 70% of employees still want to do the majority of their work in the office. That's translating to Australia. Our current information at the moment is most of the major operations who carry a lot of staff want to do about 50% return by the middle of next year. Some quick points on the panels is that they need, this is American, so it's 24 inches, which is about 600 mil or 60 centimeters high. Think about the panels coming off the front of the desk a little bit further, because as we sit at a desk, we don't sit right in close, so we sit back a little bit. And durability. One of the things everyone's noticed is if you've walked into a hardware store or an office supplies, there's perspex everywhere. I've already noticed perspex out there on the market cracking and crazing from the way it's cleaned or sunlight hitting it. It's not a great material for the environment, and it does not handle very well if it has impact. So we're using PET and PETG, which is a far superior material, and I can break that down a little bit going forward. We're looking at either frosted or clear with the PETG. So as I say, those panels there, you're looking at plastic drink bottles. And these panels here, at the majority at the moment, people are using clear because we still want to integrate with people. We still want to see them. We still want to feel that presence of your co-worker. And it opens up a space. So we've also done frosted in some environments, and we've also done the felted as well. So the felted pelt is another option. And they both come at different price points. You can use a combination, but you're seeing here the way we do it. The mount sections that we use, so there's a raft of mounts that we use, and we're very selective about what we use for your space. One of the really important things that we do is we can clamp to a desk without puncturing it or putting in fasteners and damaging the top, so that in 3 months, 3 years, whatever it may be, you can remove these so that there is a sense of them being temporary whilst being permanent as well. Clean desks. So this is something I'm up for, and I think this is something that, this has been one of our mantras right the way through, is that a clean desk just helps with efficiency, it helps people mentally, it helps you in so many different ways. And where that's becoming really into the fore now is that it makes it easy to clean it. You've got your desktop there is, I mean, it's a pretty gross thing, but Professor Alan Hedges told us that a traditional keyboard is about as filthy as a toilet bowl. So you can take that as you will, but that is something that we've found is true. So you basically want to have a section where if you're sharing a desk with someone else, that it can be cleanable, it can be wipeable and done easily. So that's that desk that we just looked at. We can transform it from that into this, and just a few key things. And so this desk and this setup here is something we've revolutionized a lot of workstations and a lot of offices with in the last 10, 20 years. This desktop here, we've basically got we've got the 2 monitors which are on a monitor arm, which run into a docking station. That white little docking station there, you can plug any laptop into that if you want to. And then we've got a keyboard platform under the desk there, and that's going to house your keyboard and your mouse. The monitor arm, our monitor arms lead the world. Some of our monitor arms are in museums. We develop monitor arms with every single thing considered. And one of the most important things is the safety stops, which is in the arm. So when you move the monitor around your desk, it can actually be locked out so it doesn't protrude into someone else's space. which can cause all sorts of issues. If you've got a sit-stand environment and desks going up and down, they can break off. Ours are beautiful to look at. We have all the cable management included through the base and through the top. We put shrouds on the back of the actual monitors themselves. Most monitor arms don't do that, and you see bolts and all sorts of things, and they look quite ugly. One of the things also was that handle that we've included on there, which is great for just less contact points as well. Yeah, that docking, yeah. And then we plug into this dock, so we can clamp it straight to the desk, or we can put it straight into this M-Connect. This M-Connect there's nothing in the world like it. It's done in two parts. So the top is all the user interface, like the way in which we use an Apple phone. It's very easy. You plug in, you hit buttons, and it's done. Underneath the desk is where all of the intranet, all of your cabling runs, all of it comes in underneath there. And that can't be, you can kind of see a little bit in the corner there, but that's all concealed, which is great for IT, and it's great for anyone in facilities because no one's messing with that stuff. It's all to the back of the desk, and the user just gets to use on what's on top. The lighting is something that we often incorporate. Lighting is something which is absolutely critical for people, particularly as we go through office spaces when there's a combination of overhead and sunlight. But in a nutshell, our eyes have evolved over about 50,000 years, and we're used to one light source, which is the sun. So all of our lamps only have one light up in the lamp. A lot of task lamps have multiple light sources, which create a myriad of shadows, and all those shadows confuse our brain and hurt our eyes, and it actually causes a lot of lethargy, and it's damaging to the eye. This particular lamp, you can charge your phone off as well. So we're looking for less cabling, less leads, more simplicity. An anecdote that I say is one of the things with Humanscale is back in the 1980s when you bought a stereo system and had loads of switches, loads of buttons, loads of lights, and it meant that, you know, all of a sudden this thing must be amazing to use. But if you ask most people what do those things do, they just didn't know. So with what we do, we go the other direction. I get home from work now, I hit one button from my phone, it turns on my music, and I'm happy. I'm not going to fiddle around with all these lights and switches because essentially most people haven't got time. We do a range of other, I guess, ergonomic accessories, which is like our keyboard tray here. We have other types of technology which you can plug into your desk. I couldn't unpack all of this in such an overview presentation now, but we have a lot of products to resolve a lot of problems and create a number of solutions for different environments, be at home or be at work. Home and office seating. We lead the world in this area. I mean, if our monitor arms are a step above our competition, our task setting is a whole flight of stairs above. We basically, the chairs that we use, I could sit in one of our chairs. I'm about 5'9" and weigh about 70 kilos. Someone jumps in who's 6'4" and weighs about 130 kilos. Each person who jumps in and out, it will adjust to them instantly. So we have a patented technology calibration, which when you sit in the chair, it will do that. One of the things with our chairs is that none of them accumulate dust. We have particular fabrics which are easily wipeable, so they're great in the new workspace where everything needs to be a lot cleaner and it's going to be more of a focus on that. But it's also great at home as well. And we're the only company in the world that doesn't use fabric protection on our fabrics. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's not. Fabric protection comes off fabrics. It gets onto your hands. It's carcinogenic. It gets onto your pets. It's on your sofa. It's in your carpet. So what we've done is we don't use that, but we use fabrics which are 7 times the rating of normal commercial fabrics. So we kind of blitz that area anyway. So when you open up a Humanscale chair out of a box, the way it looks that day is the way it will look in 10 or 12 years of heavy commercial use, which is a lot of our competitors couldn't say that. So we look at, you know, upholstered chairs versus mesh chairs. I'm going to the back of my chair here, you'll see a little bit of mesh there. Back of the chairs that we're going to show in the next few slides is mesh. Our designer, Neil's different, an incredible guy. He designed for NASA, for Boeing, he designed Polaroid cameras. He didn't want to do a mesh back chair because he didn't think that they provided enough ergonomic support. So we basically, one day when he was getting fitted for a suit at a wedding, he noticed the panels of fabric that were being chalked up and cut. And he saw this 2D fabric being turned into a 3-dimensional shape. And like the jacket that we're wearing, that Beata's got on, that I got on, there's panels on the back that are cut from fabrics and put together to kind of wrap around your shape. And all of our task chairs, we do an upholstered one, which is an executive one, and that's always been there. But for the mesh back, which is great for home and great for office, it's done in a 3D shape. So no matter who sits in it, it actually tailors to their back and to their body shape, just in the way a suit would do it for somebody on an individual level. So yeah, and hands-free controls is really one of the things that has been through all of our products, and also going into the workspace now, is that the less contact points are going to be considered, the better. There's a raft of reasons for that. We can get into that. We could do an entire presentation on that in the environment, but I think that will be one of the things that we will see. So our chair, there are some chairs that have a multitude of different functions. Ours only has a couple of different knobs and levers, but they activate a raft of functions. So we only have like sitting up, sitting down, the seat forward going up and going forward, the arms that go up and down that are adjustable. Everything else is taken care of. So when you sit in it, the entire back support, the lumbar support, the back lock, all of that is incorporated.
And Mark, I just, my seat is the best purchase that I think I've ever made, ever. I can't be without it. And the fact that you guys give such long warranties, that's unique. There's no other company that I'm aware of that actually gives such long, warranties on their chairs. It really is backed by, your belief and, of course, the science.
Yeah, thanks. It's a good thing to point out. I mean, we do, it's funny, we never get into real warranty issues because our chairs are 15 years, and some people say to me, oh look, I could find a chair for a little bit less or whatever, and I'm always intrigued by that, because it might be a chair that has a 5-year warranty, and so the replacement cost will be 3 times that, and never mind all of that going into into landfill and also not enjoying a chair of real quality. So yeah, everything down to the fact that we don't use glues, we don't use certain chromes, we use very, very specialized materials and processes to ensure that the product is at the highest possible quality. This fabric that we're looking at just on that previous one and was Lotus, which is a completely washable one. You'll see here this particular chair. This is our Liberty chair, and everything's concealed. Like if you looked under a lot of task chairs, it'd just be bolts, it'd be ugly.
Sorry, Mark.
Okay. Yeah, under there, you've basically got, everything's housed. So it's easy to clean, it's easy to wipe down, it looks good. It also protects it from dust and other elements that get in, because over 10 or 15 years, you can be certain that other things are going to get in there. And you'll see the backrest on that chair there, the 3D shape in it. You'll see the 3 panels that are there. These are all specific to what we do, and we were doing this last century. It's not, this has been around a long time. These were well considered. You'll see the mesh in the back seat is actually inset from the frame, so when that frame hits your desk or hits another object, it's not going to tear the mesh. The mesh, we've done all sorts of things to test it anyway, so it's got an incredible durability. That chair there, 2 or 3 functions, and you're set no matter what size or height you are. Anywhere between 5'3" and 6'7" is what we can cover. Bit of a snapshot. So some of that is you can see the integration from working at in an office, but also how that can transfer to home as well. So you've got the task sitting there, which that's what Beata, you're sitting on that one there on the top left. And we've got on the right there, we've got that desk there. I've seen that at home. I use something like that myself. It's also used in the workspace. Down below, you can see our that desk there, which we've got the keyboard tray, keeps everything concealed. You can tuck it away at night time when you're done for the day. Monitor arms. We do things from one arm for someone's home right through to military installations, where off that one post, there'll be 16 screens. So we have quite a sophisticated array of arms there. And the clear panels, which are great. Working from home ergonomically. So you've got, I think one of the things that has really been fascinating for us, we're a global company, so I interface with people on a global level, and so much has happened in the last 7 or 8 months. It's unprecedented. So we initially did a working from home campaign, and we did a returning to the office campaign, and I'm seeing these things now as really working completely in tandem. All the data and all the evidence that we have is that we will be working from home at some capacity pretty much forever now, whether it's at 5% or 90%. Most of the bigger organisations around the world are looking at housing anywhere between 20 and 50%. So what we're looking at here is the people that we work with is we're trying to ensure that their staff, when they're at home, are comfortable, are productive, and can do their jobs well. Here's a little bit about when we return to work. We've got our PETG versus acrylic, and I won't bore you with the details, and Beata, pull me up if I get into it, because I'm an industrial designer, so I get right into it. But PETG versus acrylic, you look at it and you think, okay, it's, plastic's plastic. It's definitely not true. And what we've found is that the PETG, it's a little more expensive than the acrylic, but from a longevity perspective, from every test that we've done, it's anywhere from 5 to 1,000 times more efficient. So your key things that you're going to look at when you want to put in panels, whether it's in a retail space, whether it's in a showroom, whether it's in an office, whether it's in a school, whether it's wherever it's going to be where you need to have barriers, you have to look at how to clean it and disinfect it. It has to be resistant to breakage. How flammable is the material, and the sustainability, that's for us is huge. We lead the world in that. So essentially, acrylic tends to craze and become cloudy with many EPA approved cleaners. So on this graph here, we can see there with acrylic, ethyl alcohol, lots of alcohol-based cleaners, it's going to fail from 30 to 40%. It'll pass with bleach. Bleach is used in hospitals. It's used everywhere. But a lot of workplaces and home uses, bleach is not used. It's generally a lot of other type of cleaners. So when that hits an acrylic surface, it will craze it. It will put a scratch and a scuff mark on it. And it does become brittle, and UV light also makes it brittle, and then it's liable to crack or to break. And so the longevity of it isn't that far. Whereas you can see with the PETG, you've got a lot more there.
Sorry, Mark, I'm not a very good navigator, am I?
I think we were good to go on. That next image I think really says what I was saying. Like if you go there, yeah, you've got these. You can see all these micro fractures which occur, and I've noticed them myself when I've gone to hardware stores and I've gone to a couple of different. I've gone to get stuff printed. I can see this starting to occur, and it's relatively new. It's only a few months, so. Yeah, hence why, and we're throughout the States and throughout Europe, we are really leading with this. Australia's always been a little bit behind in these other areas, and it's not because we're behind as people or as a nation. We're actually a lot, I would say, a little bit more cynical, and we're very clever with what we want to actually invest in. And I think there's a wait and see that's occurred, and now we're starting to roll this out through Australia, and it's a couple of months behind where the rest of the world's got to, because we've also had a stricter lockdown. It's been harder in Australia than it has been in other areas. So the return to work has been a lot more cautious, and in the way we do real estate. So yeah, those microfractures is something to consider. Resistance to breakage is just paramount. I mean, the workplace now, if someone gets injured at work, it causes a raft of problems. An injury or some sort of issue of a breakage in a public space, we don't really need to go any further than that. So you can see there on those graphs there, just the difference in the strength as far as impact and also in fracture as well. So yeah, for the investment of setting up, it's quite obvious which one we would go for. The flammability in that situation, the PETG will basically just burn itself out within 60 seconds of a flame being removed, whereas acrylic could continue on for quite some time. And it's actually a flammable material. And it's got the lowest rating for flammability, so it's quite dangerous in that area. Sustainability and recyclability, PETG is amazing. It's the most recycled plastic globally, so that's why we chose it. One of the things with Humanscale is all the materials we select has a massive consideration for the environment and for people. We lead the world in that area.
Mark, thank you so much. Again, Auslaser and Humanscale, a beautiful partnership. We care for our customers. We want to make sure that you're safe, both in your work environment and your home environment. Mark, thank you so much for your time. It has been great, and I will stop this recording.